हरे कृष्णा। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुत्पत्कमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथवितं तं सजीवं सावधूतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्विताक्ष। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So Bhagavad Gita as it is introduction by Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. So in Bhagavad Gita introduction it is mentioned that the Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. The spirit of Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita itself. Bhagavad Gita is a very pious holy book for all the living beings, mankind. So this is like a manual for human beings. Just like when we go in the market and we buy some gadgets and we get the manual for that particular machine we buy, like laptop or any mobile or anything, washing machine. So how to work and how it works nicely. In the same way, Bhagavad Gita is the manual for the human being. So the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita is Lord Krishna himself, and it is confirmed by all the great acharyas like Sripad Shankaracharya, Sri Ramanujacharya and Nimbarkacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all confirmed that the Lord Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the speaker of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And it is also confirmed by Lord Krishna himself. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. I am the source of all material and spiritual worlds, and everything emanates from me. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam vivasvan manve praha manur ishvakve bravit. Krishna says in chapter 4.1 that this confidential knowledge or the science of yoga has been, this is given, instructed by me to the Vivasvan, the sun god. This imperishable science of yoga has been given to the sun god and Vivasvan, and instructed it to Manu, and Manu, the father of mankind, has given it to the Ishvaku. And next verse Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam imam raj rishayo vidu sa kalena maheta yogo nashta parantapa. So this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So the science was lost in the due course of time. And in the third verse of fourth chapter, Krishna speaks, सम एवायम मया तेद्य योगा प्रोक्ता पुरातना भक्तोसी में सखा चेति रहस्यम हेतद उत्तमम. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, to Arjuna, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So, it is very confidential matter that this science, this yoga was first instructed to sun god, and especially Bhagavad Gita is meant for the devotees of the Lord. This we have to understand. The Bhagavad Gita is especially meant for devotees of the Lord, and there are three classes of the transcendentalist. Number one, Jnani, means impersonalist, and second is Yogi, means meditator, and the third is Bhakta, means devotee. So, Bhagavad Gita instructed to Arjuna, who is also devotee of the Lord. Unless one reads Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it is very hard to understand Bhagavad Gita. It's a great mystery. One can say, how it's a mystery? It's an open book. Anybody can buy it, can read it. That's true. But you can buy it, you can read it, but you can't understand unless you are the devotee of the Lord or you are in the submissive mode. So, it is very, very important. If you want to learn Bhagavad Gita, you have to surrender to Krishna or to the devotees of the Krishna. So, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the nescience of the material existence. Everyone in this material world is in a difficulty in so many ways. Actually, our very existence in the atmosphere of non-existence is the cause of all sufferings. So, we have to understand. So, what is the cause of our sufferings? Bhagavad Gita entails 5 basic truths. Out of 5 basic truths, Krishna is the supreme truth. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.7, Matta parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protram sutre mani gadha eva. Krishna says, there is no truth superior to me, everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So, out of 5 subjects, Ishvara, number 1, means Supreme Lord, Jiva means living entity, and Prakriti, material nature, Kala, time eternal, and Karma, the activities of the living beings. These are the 5 subjects of the Bhagavad Gita. Out of 5 subjects, Karma is not eternal. Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti and Kala are eternal. Sometimes someone says Prakriti is not eternal, but Srila Prabhupada explains that Prakriti is also eternal. It may be and it is temporary, but it is not false. Just like clouds in the sky, they are not false. Cloud rains and it produces grains. So, it is temporary, just like clouds. The Prakriti and material nature is also temporary, but it is not false. And karma is not eternal. It may be very old, but can be changed. It can be changed. So, in Bhagavad Gita, there are total 18 chapters. In 18 chapters, there are 700 verses. 574 verses spoken by Supreme Lord Shri Krishna himself. 84 verses spoken by Arjuna. 41 verses spoken by Sanjay, and first verse of first chapter, one shloka spoken by Dhritarashtra. So 700 verses, and this Bhagavad Gita until 18 chapters, first chapters are mentioned as a Karma Yoga, first to 6th chapter, and 7 to 12 chapters, that is called Bhakti Yoga, and 13 to 18 chapters called as Jnana Yoga. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this Bhagavad Gita is just like a very, very precious jewelry box, just like a jewelry box, and the lower lid of this jewelry box is Karma Yoga, upper lid of this jewelry box is Jnana Yoga, and 7 to 12 chapter Bhakti Yoga is the very, very precious jewelry kept in this box. So, the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna and the transcendental abode both are Sanatan, both are eternal. Eternal Sanatan means neither it has beginning or not end, Sanatan. But after falling in this material world, the living beings, he forgets his eternal relationship with Krishna. Krishna speaks, Krishna says that he is the seed giving father of all living beings. Sarva yonishu aham bij pradapita. So, Krishna is the eternal father of all the living entities. 84 lakhs species are there, and Krishna is the seed giving father. So, therefore, Lord sometimes descends to reclaim all the fallen conditioned souls, to call them back to the eternal abode. Therefore, Sanatan Dharma is not a sectarian process of religion. We should understand it. This Sanatan Dharma is not a sectarian process of religion. There is a difference between Sanatan Dharma and a religion. Religion is based on the faith in particular process. Any religion, it is based on some process, particular process, and that process can be changed any time. But the Sanatan Dharma, it cannot be changed. Sanatan Dharma, Jivera Swarupa Hera Krishnera Nitya Das, Karlo ye Vishwas te dukh nahi. So, Sanatan Dharma is the eternal. It cannot be changed any time. Factually, we are all the eternal servants of the God, and He is the supreme enjoyer, and we are the servitors. We are Prakriti, we are nature. There are two natures, Para Prakriti, Apara Prakriti. Para Prakriti means living beings and Apara Prakriti means Bhumir, Apo, Vayu, ये जो है जल यानी water. These are the Apara Prakriti. So, we are all the servitors of the Supreme Lord. We are created for His enjoyment. The Prakriti, material nature or living beings are created for the enjoyment of the Supreme Lord. If we participate in His enjoyment, this is a very secret thing we should know. If we participate in his enjoyment, we also become happy. Just like the limbs of the body cannot be happy unless they are serving the body. So, in that way, the living beings, all the human beings have to serve to Krishna. Rendering service to the demigods or worship demigods not approved by Lord Shri Krishna. Kamas tes tes hidgyana prapadante anya devata. Krishna says, whose intelligence is lost, in 7th chapter, whose intelligence is lost, they are surrendering to the demigods. They are serving to the demigods. So, we have to understand this very clearly. We have to serve Krishna, and there is a general principle of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati sa madbhavam nasti atra sanshaya. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. So there is no doubt. Yam yam vyapi smaran bhavam tajante ante kalevaram tam tam eveti konteya sada tad bhav bhavita. Krishna says, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So, Krishna says next, Tasma sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmar yuddhyacha. You have to remember me every time, all the time, and at the same time you can do your activities, your prescribed duties you can do. So, in this introduction, at last this is confirmed and this is told, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarv papebhyo mokshashami mashucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So, this is the short summary of introduction I have spoken here. So, next I will carry on the first chapter. In first chapter Bhagavad Gita, it is named as observing the armies on the battlefield of the Kurukshetra. This is the first chapter. So, we should know about the some history of this Bhagavad Gita, or it is a part of Mahabharata. This is also called Upanishad. So, as we know, Dhritarashtra and Pandu were brothers born in Kuru dynasty. Dhritarashtra, elder brother, was born blind, and the throne was passed down to the younger brother Pandu. Pandu died at the early age. His 5 sons called Pandavas, and Dhritarashtra has 100 sons. So, Pandavas, the 5 sons of Pandu, Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjun, Nakul and Sahadev. And Dhritarashtra's elder one son is Duryodhan. So, Duryodhan hated and envied Pandavas. Dhritarashtra wanted his sons to inherit the kingdom. The Duryodhan, with Dhritarashtra's consent, plotted to kill the young sons of Pandu but by the protection of the Supreme Lord. This is the divine arrangement, how Krishna protected Pandavas in so many times, and his uncle Vidura also given the protection to the Pandavas. At last Duryodhan challenged the Pandavas for gambling match. In the course of that fateful tournament, Duryodhan and his brothers took possession of Draupadi, and by the Krishna's divine intervention, Draupadi was saved, but they cheated the Pandavas in gambling and forced them to 13 years of exile. After returning from exile, the Pandavas requested for their kingdom from Duryodhan, who bluntly refused to yield it. At last, 5 villages were demanded, requested to Duryodhan, please give us only 5 villages, we will settle down this problem. But Duryodhana said, even a land equal to the pinpoint cannot be spared to them without war. Now the war was inevitable. Both the armies have taken place on the battlefield of the Kurukshetra. The word Dharamkshetra is significant because on the battlefield of the Kurukshetra, the Supreme Krishna was present on the side of Arjuna as the chariot driver. Dhritarashtra was very much doubtful about the victory of their sons. Now he is asking to Sanjaya, who was the student of Vyasdeva, was empowered to envision the battlefield. Dhritarashtra asked to Sanjaya, first verse of the first chapter, observing the armies of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Dhritarashtra uvacha dharam kshetre kurukshetre samveta yusava mamaka pandavasyeva kim akurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjay, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? So, first chapter of this Bhagavad Gita, it has 46 verses. First to 13 verses are linked to preparation of war. In first to 13 verses, in first verse it is spoken by Dhritarashtra, and then Sanjay replied. Sanjay said, Sanjay uvacha dishtva tu pandavanikam vyudam duryodhanastada acharyam upsangamya raja vachanam abravit. Sanjay said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhan went to his teachers and spoke to the following words. So, Duryodhan went to his teacher. Duryodhan went to his teacher, and this verse was, third verse was spoken then. Pashyatam Pandu putranam acharya mehatim chamom vyudam Drupad putrena tab shishyena dhimata. So, Duryodhana went to the Dronacharya, who was his teacher. Duryodhana, O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. So, first verse to 13 verse is preparation of war. And on the 14th verse, the blowing the conch shell. When the war is ready, then blowing the conch shell, it is mentioned in the 14th verse of this chapter. I am going of that verse. ततः श्वेते हैर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितो माधवा पांडवश्चैवा दिव्यो शंखो प्रदत्मतु. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. So 14 to 20 verse, this is a sign of victory. The sign of victory, who is going to win in this battlefield. So Arjun and Krishna's victory is confirmed, and this is the sign of victory. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devdattam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmo Mahashankham Bhima Karma Vrikodara. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya, Arjuna blew the Devdratta, and Bhima, the virtuous eater and performer of Herculean task, blew his terrific conch shell called Pondra. So, in 21st verse, Arjuna requested to Krishna to take him in the midst of the army. So 21 to 27 verses, this is the sign of Krishna as a Bhakt Vatsala. Krishna as a Bhakt Vatsala. How Krishna is driving the chariot of Arjuna. So Arjuna said, Senayor ubhayor madhye ratham sthapya me chuta Yavad eta niriksheham yodhu kaman avasthitan kermaya sa yodhavyam asmin ranam samudyame. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those who present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. So these verses are going up to 21st to 27th. In the 27th, it is said, Tan samikshya kaunteya sarvan bandhun avasthitan kirpya prayavishto vishedan idam abravit. When the son of Kunti, Arjuna, saw these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. So now from 28 to 46 verse, this is the Arjuna's doubt. Arjuna doubts whether he should fight or he should quit what he has to do. He is not in a position to take the decision. So in 28th verse, Arjuna said, Dishtvevamam swajanam Krishna yusum samupasthitam sidanti mamagatrani mukham cha parishushati. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. So now the Arjuna is in a compassion and in a confusion. He was confused either he should fight or not. So there are 4 reasons why he should not fight. In this first chapter, we should know that there are the 4 reasons of Arjuna. Number 1, Arjuna is feeling very much compassionate among the kinsmen, for their kinsmen. He don't want to fight or he don't want to kill them. And this is spoken in the verse 28 and 29 also. व्यपुतश्च शरीरे में रोम हर्षश्च जायते गांडीवम संस्रस्ते हस्त्वा त्वक्चैव परिधय्यते. My whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, my bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand and my skin is burning. This is the symptoms of Arjuna. So, next reason, the first reason is he is very much compassionate, and second is Arjun, I don't see any enjoyment without my kinsman. How I will enjoy this kingdom without my kinsman? This is the thinking, this was the thought of Arjuna. He don't want to fight. Okay, without his friends, without his relatives, how he can enjoy this kingdom? So, this verse is explained 32 to 35. In 32 verse, Arjuna said, Kim no rajen govinda kim bhoger jivitena va yesham arte kangshintam no rajyam bhoga sukhani cha ta ime vasata yudhe pranas tyaktva dhanani cha acharya pitra putras tathaiv cha pitamaha matula shasura potra shyala sambhinas tatha etan hantum ichchami ghnotopi madhusudana अपि त्रौलोक्यस्य राजस्य हेतो किम नु महि कृते निहत्ते धातराष्ट्रान न क प्रीति स्यात् जनार्दना. O Govinda, oh, what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield. O Madhusudan, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, father-in-law, grandsons, brother-in-law and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them? Even though they might otherwise kill me, O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them even in exchange for 3 worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? So, this is explained in 30-35 verse, and next cause of Arjuna was not fighting was fear of sinful reactions, and this is explained in the verse 36, 37, 38, 3 verses. This is explained. Arjuna was fear of sinful reactions. Papam evasyadismyahan etva atataina tasman narha vayam hantum dhatarashtan samandhavan swajanam hi katham bhatva sukhina syam madhava. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? So, in next 37, Yadyapi ete na pashyanti lobho upachetasa kulshaya kritam dosham mitra dohe cha patakam katham na geyam ismabhi papad isma nirvatitum kulshaya kritam dosham prapashyat abhi janardana. O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? So, here Arjuna is fearing of these sinful reactions, and next cause Arjuna don't want to fight is that is explained in 39 to 43 verse. When elders in family dies, Vedic rituals cannot be performed, he analyzed. When the elders of the family dies, so younger one cannot do this Vedic rituals, and all the families will be destroyed. So, it is mentioned in 39 to 43, कुल से पर्शंति कुल धर्मा सनातना धर्मे नष्टे कुलम कृतस्नाम अधर्मो भी भवति उता. With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. अधर्म अभिभवात कृष्णा प्रदूषंति कुल स्त्रिया स्त्रीसु दुष्टासु वाष्णे जायते वर्णशंकरा. So, when irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. Sankaro narkaiva kulghananam kulasya cha patanti pitro hi esham lupta pindotaka kriya. An increase of unwanted population certainly cause hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. So, this is mentioned here, and in next verse Arjuna said, दोषे रेते कुल गुणानाम वर्ष संकर कारके उत्साध्यन्ते जाति धर्मा कुल धर्माश्च शाश्वतः. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. So, in the 43 verse, उत्सन्ना कुल धर्माणाम मनुष्याणाम जनार्दना नरके नियतम वासो भवति इति अनुशुषमा. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. So, in 46th verse, last verse of this, what Krishna says, what Arjuna says. Arjuna says, but Sanjaya Uvacha, 46th verse, last verse of this chapter, evam uktva Arjuna sankhye rathopastha upavishata visarjya sasharam chapam shoka savigna manasa. Sanjay said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with the grief. So, this verse is now finished, 46th verse. Now, when Dhritarashtra heard that Arjuna is not going to fight, he has kept aside his bow and arrows, then he became happy. He was so hopeful that Arjuna is not going to fight, but Sanjay smashed his all the hopes by saying, don't worry, Dhritarashtra, don't be so hopeful. Krishna is with Arjuna, so nothing to be so much hopeful that Arjuna is not going to fight. Arjuna will definitely fight because Krishna is with him. Okay, I am now finishing here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tai God Premanande, Hari Hari Bo.